So my birthday's coming up this month, and I've been doing a lot of reflecting about this aging thing. And as I look back, if I could go back and talk to my 50-year-old self, I would have a lot to say. I was not prepared for the emotions, the identity shifts, and the feeling of wondering, what now? So if you're in your 50s or you're headed there, I want to share some of the things that I wish I had known so you don't feel as lost as I do. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tina, and I've been through the highs and lows of midlife, and now I share what I learned to help other women navigate this stage of life with more clarity and confidence. Looking back, there's a list of things that I wish somebody had told me before I hit 50. These are the first 5 that came right off the top of my head. The first one was the emotional shift of empty nest hits harder than you expect. And, that feeling of loss and disconnection when your kids leave home. Nobody warned you about the identity crisis that comes with it. And it's this sense of, who am I now after being a caregiver for so many years? And that feeling of loss, there's that grief that comes along with it, that feeling of loss. There's that feeling of being happy for your kids as they're going on and doing their life, but then also feeling lonely and sad because now you're not needed anymore, right? And it's a conflict, a big conflict of feelings. I remember when my oldest daughter moved out, it wasn't as hard as when my youngest daughter moved out. But either with both of them, it was still, there's always that feeling of just wanting to have them. You want to take care of your kids and you want them to do the best. And it's always that feeling of wishing that you could do more for them, or that you could take care of them, or when they go through rough times, how you wish that you could be the one to fix it. And that was one of the hardest things for me to do, was to just let them go on, make their own mistakes, do their own thing, and not judge or not trying to hold them back or trying to pull them back in, to the house. It was a really rough time. I remember when my youngest moved out, I had no idea what I even liked anymore. I was, being a caretaker, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then we have this pressure, because we're older, right, of having things all figured out, feeling lost instead of that. And so there was a lot of that for me. But the one thing that I would tell my 50-year-old self is, this feeling is normal and your life isn't over. It's just beginning. Another thing is the reality of the midlife crisis. So that unexpected restlessness and the self-doubt and the, now we want to change, this desire for change. I think it really hits during midlife, and it really hit me after I turned 50, and I realized that I was starting to feel invisible. I was starting to feel like nobody really saw or heard me like they used to. And it was a whole different feeling for me. I had never had that feeling before, and it was when I was working at a job in Salt Lake. I had taken a job in Salt Lake, and my employer was younger than me, and a lot younger. She was the same age as my oldest daughter. And in working with these two people in this office, I was pushed to the side, or I was set to the side and not doing, because normally I was an office manager and I was always involved, right? I was always asked what I thought or whatever. And it felt like anytime I would even offer a suggestion, it was pushed to the side. And that really messed with my self-esteem. And I really started feeling invisible in that job. And as I started going out and about, I started letting my hair go gray. And I noticed there was a little shift in how people perceived me. And I don't know if it was because I was going through that throughout my job, or if it was that people were seeing me as an older woman. And a lot of times we do find ourselves in that situation, right, where we're where people look at us as older women and kind of see us as less than. So I started to really go through that midlife crisis. And, I had that feeling of needing to start over, or, doing new things, trying new things. I moved to the city. I was commuting. My partner, my husband was here in where I live, and I moved into the city, and I was in an apartment in the city because I was working this job. And that gave me a lot of time to be able to sit with myself a lot. And I started doing things that I never would have ever done. Like I started shooting and would join a women's shooting club and things like that. And there was just so much of that kind of stuff, and finding ways to remember those things that I love to do, starting back with my hobbies. But with this midlife crisis, that self-doubt and that fear can hold us back so much. And so what I would tell myself in this situation is, this is your chance to reinvent yourself. So don't be afraid of it. I know for me, I was scared. I was really scared of it and had a really hard time going through that. The other thing is, you don't have to go through it alone. And that was one thing that I really know, is that there's just not a lot we don't talk about these things, right? There's not a lot of people discussing going through this midlife, for women, the empty nest thing, and how our bodies change, how our emotions change, and the isolation that comes with it is, when we don't talk about it, it's really heavy. And when we find a community, even one person who we can talk about these things, it makes all the difference in the world. And I wish I had known that sooner, because in my late 50s was when I knew I needed to create a community. And that's what I finally did, was I just created my community. I just started offering drum circles, women's drum circles. And in doing that, it has helped me to build a community of women who are, a lot of them are going through the same things that I've gone through. A lot of them that are, they may be a little bit older than me and have already gone through it. And so they're able to kind of give me that inspiration. And it makes all the difference to connect and find that support in any way that you can. And I really wish I had known that one sooner. So what I would tell my 50-year-old self with that one is, so many people feel the same way. So reach out, connect, and stop struggling in silence. Another thing that I wish I had known is, you deserve to put yourself first without feeling guilty. And I had, being a person who has been a caretaker for my kids, I helped my dad. I lived close by him, and he had 2 young girls. He married a young woman, and she passed away. And so he was raising 2 young girls by himself, and he asked me to help him. And of course I did. And I always felt like I was always taking care of everybody else, and I never really took care of myself. And so the truth is, if you don't take care of yourself, nobody else will, right? So I wish I would have told myself at 50 years old that my needs matter, and to start showing up for yourself the way that you do for others. And now I really preach that, because I feel like, I offer gratitude practices, and I feel like gratitude's one of the best things we can do for ourselves. But I also really advocate, I don't know what the word is, advocate self-love practices or self-care practices. And that means not just bubble baths and pedicures. It's more about working on your mindset, about what are you putting in your body, taking yourself for walks, or moving your body in the way that you want to move your body, taking time out for yourself, doing things that light you up, and finding those things in your life that, all of your hobbies that you would love, that you used to love and you quit doing. finding ways to do those again, finding time to meditate or to spend time with yourself for even a few minutes during the day. And those little things are so important in our lives, and especially as we're going through, and it's all through our life. If you're listening to this and you're 30 years old, I mean, that the self-care is the one thing that I really feel like is very important. And when we can put our self-care first, it's kind of like putting that mask on when we're in the plane, how they tell you to put the mask on you first. That's what happens with the self-care, because we're putting our mask on first. We're filling our cup, and then we're able to give from an overflowing cup. And so that one I really wish I had known years ago, and I just started doing it myself. Just started taking care of myself and not feeling guilty about it. So another thing is, the best years of your life can still be ahead of you. And, society makes us think that midlife is the beginning of the end. And in reality, you look at us and and like now I feel good. I want to go out and do things. I want to go travel. I want to explore. And I feel like sometimes we hit a certain age and we think our life's over. When I turned 60, I was struggling because I was like, the best years of my life are behind me. And I didn't do the things that I wanted to do in those years. And I realize that I still have some good years ahead of me. And I don't let society dictate how I am going to live my life anymore. So, this second half of life is, for me, it's about freedom and choosing what brings me joy. It's about self-discovery and learning what you truly like, what I truly like. It's learning how we want to show up, how we want to be, with the types of things we want to do in our lives. And so, yeah, what I would tell my 50-year-old self in this one is, you're stronger, wiser, and more capable than you realize. Stop waiting and start living. I feel like sometimes that's what happens, is we wait, right? We wait for those kids to move out. We wait for the retirement. We wait for the special time to start living, and sometimes we end up waiting our whole lives, right? And life's too short for that. So those are some of the things that I really wish I had known as I was hitting 50 and moving through my 50s. And I just wanted to share those because I feel like what I talked about before, I feel like it's not talked about enough. And I feel like if there's any way that I can help others go through this a little bit easier, then I'm all for it. And I'm hoping that maybe this can help you. So if you have any insights or anything that, that maybe you thought you would, or that you wish you would have known at 50, or you would like to know at 50, let me know. Put it in the comments, and I would love to know. And I have a daily ritual guide that I'll put in the description below, that you can download for free. It's just a little ritual guide to help you to kind of go through your day with different types of easy, simple rituals to help you kind of connect with yourself. So that's all I have for you on that. And I thank you for watching, and hit that subscribe button. I plan on talking about, videos on mindset, self-care, and thriving in midlife. I'm also talking a little bit about my journey on trying to get my health back, and I'm still going through this journey of thriving through midlife. And so I'll be doing videos on that. So go ahead and give me a subscribe and all the things. If you know of somebody who needs to hear this, share it. And I thank you for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.